Welcome back. Thanks for watching the center of it all. Now with the hectic back to school season here, we have one recipe to help make your dinner prep one less thing to worry about.
My kids are grown and have been out of the house for almost 20 years. While I miss them, I don't miss back to school shopping at the mall, packing lunches early in the morning, chauffeuring to and from after school activities, and between all that, cooking kid-friendly sit-around the table and chat dinners before homework, TV time, and bed. Join me right here at the stovetop today while I show you how to make one of my family's favorite back-to-school dinners. My mother-in-law, who hailed from Philadelphia, didn't love to cook, but what she did cook was very good. She first served me this stewy soup back in 1972, and she called it pepper pot. It didn't look like much, but it was over the top delicious. It was one of her son's favorite meals, and guess what? 15-20 years later, it was one of her grandson's favorite meals, and now, almost 40 years later, it's one of her great-grandson's favorite meals. I guess we could call this a family tradition. I'm starting with 2.5 pounds of ground meat, and I'm putting it in the bottom of this 8-quart stock pot. Over medium-high heat, I'm just going to break this up a little bit. And as the story goes, Philadelphia pepper pot, in fact, is not made with ground beef. It's made with beef tripe, which is beef stomach. And while that might be a delicacy, and I've tasted it, it's very good, kids don't really like to eat beef stomach. So my mother-in-law explained that when her mom made it, she used to make 2 smaller pots and make one with hamburger for the kids and one with beef tripe for the adults. So we're just going to break up our meat. I'm using 90-10, which is only 10% fat. You really want to stick to that because while you do want some beef juices in this soup, you don't want a lot of fat. So I've got my 2.5 pounds of ground meat, about 1.5 cups of celery, the same with onion, about 1.5 cups of chopped onion, and about 1.5 cups of diced carrots. You don't want to season this. Now is not the time to season it. We're just going to cook this for about 10 minutes, stirring it frequently until the meat is just cooked through. It's not pink anymore, but it's not browned. My meat is just the way I want it. It's sizzling. There's juices in the bottom of the pan, which is perfect. That's a lot of beef flavor. The meat isn't browned. The vegetables are soft. Hope the camera can get a good shot of that. Nothing's browned. It's all cooked through. And now we're going to add our stock, and of course it's beef stock. Now I'm using homemade beef stock from my freezer, but if you want to use store-bought stock, it's just fine, but you're going to have to amp up the flavor a little bit. And I put a teaspoon of thyme, 2 bay leaves, teaspoon of pepper. It's not called pepper pot for nothing. You have to add pepper to it. And we're going to add all 2 quarts of this stock to the pot. You can see all the pepper in the bottom of that. And I'm just going to allow this to return to a simmer, and while I'm waiting, I'm just going to toddle off camera and peel and dice 3 or 4 potatoes. I've peeled and diced about 3 cups of potatoes, 5 potatoes maybe. I'm just going to add them to the simmering liquid. The soup really does have to be simmering when you add the potatoes. These are gold potatoes, but you can use red potatoes as well. They'll work just fine. And I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of parsley. We'll give this a good stir. And when this comes back up to a simmer, we're going to add our noodles. My soup is at a rapid boil, and it's time to add some noodles now. Now, back in the 1950s and 60s, Campbell's marketed a version of pepper pot, and in theirs they added a macaroni product. But in true pepper pot style, which is Philadelphia, because of the Pennsylvania Dutch influence, it's common practice to add egg noodles, and I've got a 12-ounce bag here. And I don't even have to cook them separately. I'm going to cook them right in this soup for about 8 or 9 minutes. I'll taste occasionally till they're just perfectly cooked through, and then we're going to eat. My noodles have been simmering away in my pepper pot for about 10 minutes, and they're really nice and tender, and oh, look at that. It really is good. I wish you could all taste it. So I'm just going to turn the heat off. We'll take this over to the counter and call everybody to eat. Take it from a well-seasoned mom with lots of back-to-school, after-school experience. You only get to raise your kids once. And cooking even the simplest of meals and sitting around the table for 5 minutes, no matter how hectic your schedule or how tired you may be, is perhaps one of the most important lifelong learning experiences you will ever teach your children. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website.
When we come back, we show you an app to help improve your downtown experience and introduce you to our pet of the show.